Tonight, an evening of pomp and circumstance at the White House. President Obama and the First Lady hosting a rare state dinner for French President François Hollande. This just happened moments ago during our program at the top. François Hollande coming up for the formal portrait with the President and the First Lady, who is wearing Carolina Herrera. We can now report an absolutely gorgeous gown. This is the first state dinner in almost 2 years. It's a very big deal. Guests arriving include A-listers like Bradley Cooper and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And we just caught a glimpse of Michelle Obama's gown. As you can see, it's long and flowy. It's sort of got like a little pin tuck thing at the back. I've got a guy here who can talk a lot more about it. And lace, and I think her hair goes perfectly. She got it all right this time, but believe me, I don't know. He's going to tell you. For more on the pageantry and diplomacy of the night, the Washington Post's Sally Quinn. She's covered dozens of state dinners. She's been to a bunch of them, and she's the author of The Party, The Guide to Adventurous Entertaining, and creative director for Elle magazine, Joe Z. Sally, let me start with you, and I really wanted you all were the guests I really wanted for this segment because you've been covering these state dinners for years, and people say, well, what is the point of these? We go through the menu and all the fanciness of it. I mean, but it is important, right?
Well, the point of this state dinner is Syria, Syria, Syria. And when people talk about these dinners being frivolous or they cost too much, $600,000, if that's what this dinner costs, is nothing when you talk about it in terms of PR and in terms of our being able to reach out to an ally like France, who is incredibly important to us. As we have seen, France has stood by us in Syria and other places around the Middle East. You can't buy that kind of publicity, and you can't buy that kind of goodwill. And by doing this, we're not just honoring Hollande, we're also honoring the French people. We're saying, actually, we're sorry that we kind of hung you out to dry when you said you were going to back us when we agreed to use force if the Syrians didn't back down and get rid of their chemical weapons. And we're also saying, we want you to be on our side and we want you to stick with us if we have to go into Syria. So, I mean, when you look at a dinner like this, I mean, you see Michelle Obama in this gorgeous dress and this fabulous, but it's all about honoring the guest. And people, it has been said that wars have been started over the wrong seating at state dinners. It can be a treacherous thing. I mean, you have to have nerves of steel to be a White House social secretary.
I can't even imagine how difficult that job would be. And Joe, but to the whole point of and by the way, when people out there say, the British, for example, weren't with us in Syria, the French really, when it comes to Al-Qaeda and things, really are the stalwart friends. I mean, we got to do whatever it takes at this point. But let's talk, Joe, about the pomp and circumstance of this. Part of the way you honor is the way you dress and the way things happen. So let's talk about her dress. Well, what do you think about it, and what do you think about her choice of designers? Not a designer with French links, as some had thought.
No, and actually, this is quite interesting. I think tonight's state dinner is very significant for two reasons. I mean, listen, we're very obsessed with everything Flotus wears, but I think tonight, number one, the French president came stag, so the spotlight was on Michelle. So we were looking to see...
That's right, there was no second dress.
She was not sharing that spotlight, so she was it. And I think we were expecting her to wear potentially an American-French designer that had some sort of link back to tonight's state dinner. But she chose Carolina Herrera, which is of Spanish descent. And Mrs. Herrera is an incredible evening wear designer, but I don't think that's the one that we thought she would be wearing tonight.
Now, tell us a little bit more about your view of the style, how she looks in it, and also as we talk about, Sally mentioned the cost of the dinner, which I want to talk more about in a second, but what does a dress like that cost?
Well, first of all, I love the dress on her because I think it's so elegant, it's so simple. I mean, that shape is what we call the princess shape. It's got that sort of poof at the bottom, but it's very sort of billowy at the same time. It's strapless. I think we want to call that French blue, maybe, to tie in with the evening.
I was calling it French slate blue or something, but definitely.
I think some people might call it periwinkle, and it's got this sort of jet bodice and everything, and I think it's really pretty. But a dress like that from Mrs. Herrera could potentially run up to almost $10,000.
Wow. But she doesn't pay full for it, or does she?
Not even close, I don't think.
Not even close, right. All right. Now, Sally, what about the cost of the overall dinner? CBS News is reporting it could be $600,000. I'm sorry. They said the first dinner with India could be $600,000. Where do you think tonight's dinner will rank? By the way, I heard the dinner with India cost $600,000 in part because of $400 bottles of wine. And all I thought at that time was if you were going to do $400 bottles of wine, you should have waited for the president of France.
Well, by the way, I think that dress probably cost around $12,000, but that's just my guess.
I bet that's an informed guess, but okay, thank you for throwing it out there.
But in terms of the expense of this dinner, first of all, it's larger than most of the state dinners that they've had, so it will be more expensive. They probably are cutting down on the price of wine because they were getting criticized. And I think that the Obamas have entertained less, have had fewer state dinners than most presidents because they don't particularly like to entertain, and they keep to themselves a lot. But also because of the economy. I mean, when people are starving and don't have jobs, it doesn't look good to spend too much money. But I think that the economy is up enough now, and it's important for us to entertain the French. So I think it's worth every penny.
Before we go quickly, Joe, just we have a few pictures of other dresses she's worn at other state dinners. Where does this one rank, given that you probably have them all arrayed in your mind?
I think this one is actually more grand than some of the dresses she's worn in the past. So I did like the red McQueen, but she got a lot of flack for that one. Back when she was doing the state dinner for China. But I think this is a much more grand dress, but it's also very subdued at the same time.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I don't know. I love it, but I'm not a fashion person. You
I
are.
love it too, so
I'm glad
with
that
you.
you've at least made me feel like my taste was all right in this case.
I validate you here.
All right. Thanks so much to both of you.